What up, though? What up, though? What up, though? Welcome back to another episode of All Things Behind the Scenes with your girl, Nina Payne. Thank you so much for joining us and being here today. Like I've said before, this show is about all things events. We discuss what happens before the event, after the event, during the event. We talk to amazing professionals who manage all the details behind the scenes to make sure that event happens. And then we also talk about the business of doing events, the ins and outs and do's and don'ts. We discuss all of that here. So, having partnerships and collaborations in business is so super important. My next guest and I have worked together in a variety of events. With her marketing expertise and my event production experience, we collaborated and produced some amazing experiences. She is now the event marketing producer for the Walt Disney Company. Yep, the home of the mouse. Please enjoy our conversation with Ms Dana Harvey. I feel like I have to do this when I hear it. Can I get some more applause?
Can I give some applause too? Nina!
Dana Harvey!
Nina Payne.
How you doing,
Nina
girl?
Payne.
Well, you know, just doing me.
I know.
What are we doing? We're doing me. And we talked about doing something like this for how many years? Couple years.
Yeah, at least a couple years. So here we are. It feels good.
It does.
Here. It does feel good, Nina.
Thank you for agreeing to be a part of our first season of All Things Behind the Scenes podcast. I'm just excited to be able to finally share after 20 years of doing work, right? You know, it's time to start talking about it and sharing with people about what we do. And so let's get into it. I just got a few questions. We're going to chit chat. You know, you're going to enlighten some folks about some things. What do you enjoy? Like, let's talk. Oh, let me talk about how we know each other, right?
Okay.
So
okay.
I think this is, what year is this? 2023. I met Ms Dana Harvey in 2006. 7.
7
in there.
We go through this all the time.
We do, and we don't know what it is. We're just going to say 7. And we were working together on a project. Ms. Toy Hankins brought us both in to work on Kim's, the artist Kim's second album, maybe. Kim album 2. It was Kim album 2 because we were doing the photo shoots and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so we met, we would have meetings every week or, you know, some sort of cadence. And I remember Toya mentioned, who actually is on our show as well, by the way. Great interview. You have to catch her.
Okay.
She mentioned she was going to be bringing other people in to help out. And she brought in Ms Dana Harvey. And I can't believe I hadn't known you before that because I feel like we all know the same people. We didn't, you know, kind of thing. And I just kind of connected with you because one of the things that I really like about you, Dana, is that you are super down to earth. Mm-hmm. I think people probably, and we'll get into kind of the perceptions of people and sort of thing, but I wouldn't have known that you were down to earth looking at you. Perception is something else. I don't know what that is, but I think we just kind of connected, and then we saw each other after that. You had one on it and pursued other things. Mm-hmm. And I saw you downtown at the Marriott Renaissance Hotel. This is all coming back to me now. Okay. I was going up the escalator. I think you were coming down. I said, Dana, and you said, Nina. And I said, oh, we got to get together. You know, it's one of those moments. Hey, girl, da, 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 da. And then we just kind of pursued.
Right? We met for coffee.
You remember?
In Royal Oak.
In Royal Oak, we did. Oh, you remember all that. And we just kind of just connected. And then we just started figuring out what our synergy was. And then we started working on projects together. And I think we're working full time. You transitioned, which we're going to talk about, and started your company. And it was awesome to kind of be there for all of that. And so, yeah, we've done a lot of projects together. And so that's super important to have you a part of this first season. So thank you for being here. And then, you know, so let's get started. Okay. So events, we have been doing a lot of events together, but you are now doing some other things, events without me. I don't know what that's about, but whatever.
You know, it feels odd, and I'm always channeling. What would Nina do? WWND. What would Nina do?
Girl, I'll be on the plane in a minute. Just call me. I got you. And so, what do you enjoy? Like, what do you like about events?
You know, as a marketer, it is one of the best opportunities to connect, like really connect with people in the moment. You can do a campaign, you can do advertising, you can, post on social media, and those things take time. But an event is created from an idea with an intention, and you have people in the moment that you can provide an experience for. So I like to switch events and experiences, on a fluid spectrum,
Mm,
um, because what you want them to get out of your event is this intentional experience, whether it's for a brand, whether it's for a personal occasion, whether it's to further a mission.
mm,
It is the experience. And what I really enjoy, and I say this often, the times that I know that the event is going as it should is when I take a moment from looking at what's happening that we created and turn
mhm,
around and look at people who are attending.
mm.
And I look for the joy in their faces. I look for them whispering to each other. I look for the smiles, because that lets you know you did the thing. You did
Yes.
what you set out to do. That's what I love. I love the experience. I love creating the experience and providing experiences for people.
That's a common denominator, I think, in all of the women that we talk to that are involved in events or, curation or creation of it. And it's that moment where you do all the work, you've done all the details, all the things to get to this point, and then the curtain opens or the
Yes.
doors open and you see how people are responding to all the things that you did. And it's kind of a thankless place, right? Because nobody's patting you on the back for that, right? They
Exactly.
may
They're
say,
not
great
looking for
job.
you. They're not even thinking about you
Mm-mm.
as a person who created this at
No,
all.
because they don't know. It's like it's why it's called behind the scenes.
Right.
But what the joy is that you get, right, is that little the feeling of like, "Oh, man, this is a thing. Like, we did this shit. We did it,"
We did.
and they're they're enjoying it. We on time because it's the pet peeve of mine. We are working it, and it's kind of like you gotta pat yourself on the back for about 4.5 minutes, and then you gotta
Mhm.
get back to work because
Right,
there's stuff to be done. So,
right,
I
right.
think all event people have that in common. And so, let's take one step back. I know that you have been in corporate America, for the majority. I'll use that loosely
Mhm.
of your career. But you do have and you own your own company. So let's talk about the transition from corporate America into owning your company, and tell everybody what the company is called.
Okay, so it has been an evolution, and when I say flow and fluid, it applies to so many things. Here's another thing: the flow of me being an entrepreneur. I've always had a corporate job, but there's always been opportunities for me to work on projects outside of that, and they have pretty much been around creating experiences. So I've started a few, and the last one that really is currently the one was Verve360 Media. And
Mhm.
to me, that means life all around and just creating these experiences. So I was working as the marketing director for the Detroit Free Press and the Detroit News. And then I moved to the Public Lighting Authority of Detroit. And once my time was there, I said, Dana, just do the thing. Just do
Do
the
the damn
thing.
thing.
These are the do the damn thing. These are the things you tell other people when you sit in a moment and and your gut is speaking to you and you are listening and you're believing in what it is you want to do it.
Mm,
So I did it. And I think that that time that you and I met, it was supposed to be that time because
yeah.
we created this synergy where we played off of each of our strengths,
Yeah.
and then meeting with different clients and people and projects around the world, right? I mean, we were
Around the world,
local, we
absolutely.
were national, we went
Mhm.
international,
Yep.
and we were able to bring joy not only to the attendees, but I think we were successful in satisfying our clients too. So there's doing the thing, and then there's being about the business.
Mm.
And the media part of it is creating and showing what the brand does and look like. So
So
that's a
talk
long way of
talk more
answering your
talk more
question.
about the transition because it's not easy, right? So
Mhm.
so so when the gut is talking to you and you're listening, what does it look like? Like take us through the steps of corporate I'm decide look, I am 2 weeks notice. Like, what was the experience for you in the actual physical transition of it?
The experience was frightening, honestly. I mean,
Mhm.
you have to come to a place where you are going to believe in yourself and your capabilities, and knowing that what you did at work, you can do for yourself. And being a
Mm,
lifelong Detroiter, we knew a lot of people. We knew what was going on, and I think um, using the network, our network, and expanding that, and just talking to people and finding out what's happening, and then walking in and showing, this is how we can solve your problems. This is how we can create experiences for your nonprofit, your business, your company, your brand. um, some of which we probably should have
good lord,
before.
all money is not good money. Let's
All
just put
money is
that
not good money. All money is not good
straight.
money. But I think just believing in yourself and finding that strong support and foundation or partner
Mhm.
was important for me.
Yeah.
And even though I began on a route of creating digital services, I just kept moving back into events. So believing in myself, but then forgetting, but then getting back on track,
Mm,
and just knowing, okay, where do I specialize in? What brings me joy? How can I bring others joy? Stay true to that.
yeah. You
And
were on this, like, constant journey in trying to
constantly
figure it out and nailing it down, like,
and
getting
nailing
it to a
it
point
down.
where it's, streamlined.
And I want people to know that that's okay.
Mhm.
That's okay. Where you start is where you start. And it could be in one environment in one year and a completely different in another. But if you are adjusting and modifying, staying true to who you are, but taking advantage of the opportunities that you see and or create based on what you can do, then your flow will continue to happen. So it was always evolving. And
Mhm.
sometimes I question, like, I don't even like the name of my company. Do I need to change? Just constantly questioning myself
Yeah.
and still trying to show up. Um,
Mhm.
just trying to show up.
And you did that. I think one of the things I think we have to address is women working together. I think
We talked
there's
about
always this kind of
that.
thing that I hear about that we don't get along, or there's no way for us to be partners, or whatever the myths out there in the streets are. But I think in our situation, we blew away whatever myths that there were. It was two companies coming together, two women coming together, two different type of styles coming together, um, focusing on each other's strengths. Mine in event management, production, logistics, yours in events and marketing, media. Like, it just kind of worked. It kind of fit like a hand in glove. We were able to produce some amazing events, create some great relationships that we still have today. Matter of fact, Michelle says hello.
Oh,
And and it just worked. It worked. It worked. And it still works. And so I just want to encourage those who are thinking about a partner, or thinking about, having someone join their team, that is doable. Like,
I
it
agree.
can work.
I agree. We when we were very intentional about that. We talked about that a lot. We saw it in others. We saw where there were gaps and opportunities, but I do believe our being intentional about, okay, you got this, I got that. I like the way you do this. I like the way you do that. I wish I can do more of this. Well, you can do that. I mean,
We did.
we
Hmm.
really made sure that we both were showing up in places and spaces at the table
Hmm.
where we were shining. I loved
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I
Absolutely.
don't think I really thought about it like that until I started really, like, thinking about these questions for you and kind of having this conversation. We talked a lot. We met a lot. We conceptualized a lot. Like, so we
Yes.
didn't, we didn't, like, just wing it. It was intentional on how we kind of showed up at the table,
That's right.
and
That's
it, and we then we started to get this cadence. I'd look at you, you jump in, you'd look at me, I would jump in, and we would just,
I
the
knew
clients.
when to be silent and to listen. I knew when she was going to speak and I knew what she was going to say. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it.
It was like, it's a dance.
It was.
I was looking at her, she's looking at me. It worked out. And the clients didn't know what to do. They was like, these sisters are, like, coming at us left, right. Have you thought about this? Because, and it's Oh yeah, so much fun, so much
It
fun, so
was,
much fun.
it worked.
So,
It
so
worked.
let's talk about in business in general, because we've even talked about this. So there is a trend, right, where everybody wants to be a boss babe or boss bitch or whatever the things are that people are telling you you're supposed to do, and then giving you a footprint of what it looks like, right?
Right.
That you got your red bottoms on and your, all of the Instagram amazing photos. No hate, no shade, just saying that's not all of the picture. So they
Mhm.
give you this kind of like, oh, you want to be a bitch? You don't have any employees. I travel all the world all the time, and I have a million houses, and I'm doing all these things. God bless you. But let's talk about the other side in order to make that side true.
Yeah, the 85% of the work, not the 15% of what you see. There's a
Mm,
difference. There's a difference. It
let's
might be
call it.
80, it might be 80/20, it might be 85/15, but the 15% of what you see, number one, has likely been curated.
Mm,
Number two, may fail the three question tests. What's your return on investment? What are
mm,
you really bringing home? And what
mm,
would your clients say about you after you've done your job? I mean,
mm,
we've been in a number of situations where we know that people who have been in places and have presented a visual of this great job, that if they're not about the business, then you don't have a business.
mm. Say that for the people in the back.
If you're not about the business, you don't have a business.
Some things you just got to bring home. If you're not about the business, then you don't have a business.
A
Let's talk about
social
that.
media page is not a business.
Mm, that's so good. That's so good. You're absolutely right. And it's coming from an expert marketer, by the way. So she knows what she's talking about.
And I remember, presenting some marketing tips to a class of new startups, and I kept thinking I need to talk about branding. Well, I need to step back because we need to talk about if you legitimately have a business,
Mm,
and do you know who your clients are? Do you
mm,
know your ideal target? How are you talking to them? And are you leveraging what you do to actually bring home money? I
mm,
mean, you can't even get into marketing and events until you have determined whether or not you have a legitimate business. Not
mm,
to say you can't get there, but I implore people, please be about your business.
mm. I love it. I mean, because here's the thing, and so I just want everybody listening to know that it's really no shade. I think,
None.
if you got a beautiful Instagram, presence and you're doing all the things, fantastic. But what we want to make sure that you do is that make sure you handle your business. Make sure your
Yes.
paperwork is together.
Paperwork is in place. Exactly.
You know,
Yes.
it's not all what it looks like.
No,
And the work is hard.
it's
We've talked to all of these women who have businesses, and what they say is that it is not for the faint of heart.
no, it's not.
You are, I think Miss Shahida talked about it in her interview. You're the last one to get paid. So if
Yes,
you got to pay vendors and you got to pay subcontractors and ICs and employees if you have them. And guess what? At the end of the day, you got to take what's left.
that's right.
So
And that
you're
doesn't
doing
always
all of that.
translate to looking good on social media. So,
Hmm.
gosh, it would be so nice if we just told the truth.
Mm,
It would be so nice if we just told the truth. And I feel, I don't know, it might be a generational thing. You know,
maybe.
I feel indebted to those that I watched, and me being able to share the truth to those coming after me.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons, another reason why I wanted to do this. It was just kind of taking the masks off and talking about the actual shit that's really happening. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like the hard stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's hard.
It's hard.
It's and one thing in social media, we all know that everybody's giving their highlight reel, right? The best of the best, the where I win, who I love, blah blah blah. But all of the stuff that's not necessarily happening that you don't see every day is the stuff that's the real stuff.
That's
It's
right.
lonely. Having a
It's
business can be
lovely.
very lonely. You're the only one up in the middle of the night trying to get stuff done, even if you have a team.
Mhm.
It can be very dark sometimes. It can be super rewarding. It can be taxing on your family. There are a lot of things that you have to deal with. And I think we have to start, I agree, telling the truth about all of that. And that's why we have all things behind the scenes. That's what we're doing here. That's what we're
Live
doing
like
here.
it is, right?
So let's continue on to
Mhm.
that conversation. And let's talk about just in some of the things that you've experienced as a business owner, are there some, what are the characteristics you think are necessary for someone to be able to not just have a business, but maintain and grow a
Mhm.
business?
Um, I talked about believing in yourself, and that could be, where you start, but it needs to carry you through. I would also say resiliency, um, figuring things out. Like you literally have to figure everything out.
Mm,
You start off potentially being a jack of all trades, but if you're smart enough to leverage, your strengths, and begin to bring on people who can support and work for you, then you're building. Um, I would also say, um, paying attention to what's happening around you and identifying opportunities and where you can grow.
mm,
I think you did that well, Nina. Very well, very strategic about your shift
mm,
and where you were and who you ended up working with as far as your client base. Just
yeah.
where are you and who needs your services? And it
Hmm.
may not be a fashion designer. It might be a waste management company. They're not as sexy, but they may still need your business.
Yeah.
And so not all parts of the very little parts of the business is sexy. Very few parts of it is sexy.
Mm, that's a
But
good point.
just leaning into what you can do, being resilient about it, finding these opportunities to grow. um yeah, I think that's the foundation of
Well,
what I
talk about, because you're here, you've done it. Talk about like one of the biggest mistakes that you made, or that you found out later. If you had known, you would have done something different. Like, what are stepping stones and challenges that you have creating your business?
um I think being upfront and clear on the services you are going to deliver to your client and ensuring that they know what they are and what they aren't.
Mm,
Clients can sometimes push the scope of work. And I think I just not I think I know this is one of the hardest ways that I learned. One of my very first events on my own was a celebrity fashion show for a nonprofit not to be named. And the person who did it before was internal, and so they managed the event as well as the attendees, selling tickets and things like that. And
mhm.
me, in my haste to say yes, I can do it, I agreed to be a part of, the management for ticket sales. Like, how do you plan an event and not sure there are people in the seats? That's
Mm,
what I did. An
mm,
event, and I was not successful in getting people in the seats. And I thought about it afterwards. Now, had I been clear in the scope of what service I was providing, I would
yes.
have just said the event management.
Mm,
You, as a nonprofit, manage internal, external partnerships, sponsorships, and attendees. And
mhm,
it felt like a failure on my part.
mhm.
That's one of those things, you learn from your mistakes. That can be hard on the ego.
Baby, yeah. Yeah, you learn quick though, but that's how we learn sometimes.
That's right.
Sometimes, every event is not successful. And I can say that over the years, there's been some events I'm like, ugh, we got through it, but
Yes.
man, was that hard. Or
Yes.
man, we should have done this, or we should have done that. And so we do take time, as a company, as a team, to kind of walk through what didn't work. What do we need to not do again? What do we need to do again? Like, what was successful? And it's important to kind of know that. And I think you're also right about the scope of work, because you are right. Clients want you to do everything, and you just
Yes.
to be very clear about your lane. I
Hmm.
am not a butts and seats person. I do event management. I'll do logistics. I'll help you with marketing, and I'll help you with kind of strategy when it comes to the type of people and the price points based on budget, and percentage of how many people, that the type of person that you're gonna get into the door that's a vegetarian. Like, I'll talk about
Right.
like all of that, but I'm not going to go out and pass out flyers and social media your event. That's
Right.
what marketing is for. And
Yeah.
so, I'm really clear. about that. And or sponsorship. So one of the other things that people ask me a lot of time is that, oh, does sponsorship come with your event management package? And I'm like, no, ma'am. So, but I do have a couple of recommendations for you. I'll send you, some lists of names who can do all of that. Because understand something, and after years of doing this, those are all separate jobs.
Yes, absolutely.
Sponsorship development is a whole can of wax in itself, and
That's
somebody
right.
who does that for a living should be doing that if you don't have an in-house person.
That's right.
And so if I'm the event management team and I'm doing sponsorship, marketing, event management, the planning, the logistics, the on-site, the staffing, and I'm doing all those things, one, you can't afford it, and then two, I'm not going to be able to do all of those things well.
That's
And
right.
so I think scope of work is, you hit it right on the head on that.
Scope of work. My goodness. My
Know
goodness.
your lane, people. Know your lane.
That's right. And run it.
Let's talk about being a woman in business.
Mm.
Do you have, or have you had situations where being a woman, or somebody tried you? Like, do you have those situations within your scope? Was it whether in corporate America or whether as a business owner?
Um, I was thinking about that. I can't think of any particular situations, but I do know that with most women, we end up in scenarios where what we are bringing is either not fully and highly valued,
Mhm.
or marginalized to a degree, and in knowing that, my intention is always to walk in and be there as if you belong there. And
Mhm.
so, to help mitigate anybody trying me, you know, to show up and,
Yeah.
okay, my seat is just as big as yours.
Mm.
We all are talking about what needs to happen. And you will hear me when I say what I need to say. So,
What is that? Is that confidence? Where's that coming from? Like,
uh,
how do you know to do that?
it is confidence, or it's me sitting in my car before I go in,
Run it through.
reminding myself, Dana, remember, you have these things to say. They will hear you. Don't walk out of there without sharing what you know,
Yeah.
and put an idea on the table and make sure that it has been claimed by you.
But I mean, we're laughing, but that's such a key skill. Like, it's when you prepare for anything. But if you're
Right.
going to prepare to walk into a room and that there may be challenges in that, either being heard or being taken seriously, or you're walking and you might be the only woman, the only Black woman. There's all these scenarios, and taking a moment and walking through and knowing what you're walking into is fire. Like, everybody needs to do that. It's
Yes.
fire. And so now you're walking with intention. You're not just in there just, hey, I got here's a business card and the kind of thing. You're walking with intention. Now, if you're really doing it well, you know everybody in the room. You've
I was
done
just
your
about to say
research.
that. Nina, I was just about to say that. Before you even go, you know who's in the room, who your allies might be. You may have even talked to them,
Hmm.
found out what is going to be said or shared. I was just, see, we haven't lost this.
It's
We
all right
haven't
here.
lost this.
There's a whole art to networking. And
Absolutely.
so, and I was sharing in an interview with Shahida that as I've gotten older, I'm less extrovert and more introvert. And so I have to be even more intentional about walking into a room. Like, I have to, like, it used to become really natural to me to kind of work the room and do the things real easily. And I don't know what's happened as I gotten older, but I have to, like, prepare myself more. Like, I'd rather just be at home.
Mhm.
But I have a business to run and grow and all that sort of stuff. So I have to, like, get in the car. First of all, I'm very strategic about where I spend my time. And
Yes,
then if I'm going to show up, that means I'm going for something. It's intentional.
that's
And
right.
so I do the work to make sure that when I get in the room, I come away with something. So I need to know who's there. Why am I going? What am I trying to get out of this? What the connector is? Is this is just, non-direct relationships? So I need, all of those things. I have to go through all the
All
things
the
in order
things.
to make
And
it work, work
and
so
even
well.
even when you get to the door, I remember one time I was going in intentionally. There were, a couple things that people I need to talk to. What do I need to get out of it? What do I need to ask or hear? And literally, I stood at the door as if I was stepping onto a live stage, and then just walk in and smile. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a physical reaction to, I have to do this. I have to do this. This is
I
how
think
I
that's
have to show up.
I think people need to hear that. Because people ask me, I had a meeting with someone, they were like, "You mean you have insecurities?" I was like, "Doesn't everybody have insecurities? Of course I have insecurities. There are sometimes I'm more fearful than not, but I've been exercising these muscles for so long, you know
Yes.
what I mean, that I know how to turn it on. I know how to like do it anyway. I know
Do it
how to in
anyway.
spite
Where's that
of.
noise? Do it anyway. Where's
Uh,
that
Look,
singer?
there we go. Thank
Anyway.
you, Dejanay. But what I mean, you have to move past it. There
Yes.
is no choice. I know
Yes.
that I have to grow the business. That means I have to do these things. I know that I need to go meet these people because I need to know who they are. They need to know who I am. I need to go do it. So like all the things, feeling under the weather, don't got time, whatever the reasons and excuses that we give ourselves, you do
Hmm.
it anyway. Fear,
Yes.
I've been doing a lot more speaking engagements. I don't really, it's not a thing for me. I don't really care about speaking on stage, but I know I have nothing, something to say. And I know now after doing this for 20 years that it's time for me to share more. And so can't be selfish. You got to get it all out. Can't take it with you. Might as well share what you know with
That's
people. So that's kind of my take on it. And so now you have to get over whatever that thing is in your way. I call it the mountain. Remember mountain? We go over it, we go around it, we go under it, we dig a hole, we fly a plane over, whatever you got to do. But you got to get on the other side of the mountain.
you have
And
to.
that's with all of those different things. And
You
if you
have,
don't have that, it's going to be really difficult for you in business.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
going to be really
Or
difficult
in
for you.
rooms where it will unnerve you,
Yes.
or
Oh,
trying to get a yes from a client that you have been aspiring to work with.
hmm
All those things will unnerve you.
yeah. And what are you going to do?
Do it anyway.
Run? You going to run away? No, we
No,
don't run.
right. You do it
we
anyway.
we do it anyway,
You
in
do it
spite
anyway.
of. We figure it out and we
Yep.
move in spite of fear.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so let's talk about perception because I
Mm.
think with you, I've been knowing you for a long time. I've been
Hmm.
around you, and this is really interesting about perception, right? Because people think you're one way
Hmm.
that you may or may not be. And so, who do you think people think you are versus who you are?
Um, I can be a little. Uh, I can be a little reserved
Mm,
at times.
okay.
It's my nature, and I think that may come off a certain way to people.
Mm,
So, what I try to do, because I don't always know, but what I try to do is be intentional about engagement.
mm,
So, there may be 50 people in the room and 10 people may know me, and they might be, watching me or looking at me, and I have no idea. I don't
mm,
even know who they are. And so if I do speak to them, the conversation is, I'm really engaged in you. I am going to ensure that you know that I'm asking questions, I'm listening, I'm offering answers and solutions. And in that moment, this is the two of us.
mm,
Um, I, lo- I think I remember one time I met Jennifer Granholm, and in a room of 5,000 people. But
mm.
honestly, our conversation made me feel like she and I were the only ones in the room. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah,
That was
politicians are
absolutely,
good at that.
yeah, very good at that. I'm not trying to be a politician, but I want people to know that um, I'm in the moment, right? I'm in the moment. And so I try really hard to do that.
You're one of the best people I've seen do it. I have to give you your pearls because and I've told you, you look, we just have been in some situations
We have,
where people have approached Dana Harvey and have, you know, sh- told all these amazing stories about how they know her and yada yada boom boom. And then we get to ourselves and Dana's like, I don't know who that is.
I don't remember.
and and it's because of that. And it- it's not a negative. It's just, you've spent time in that you poured into that person and you
Right.
made that person feel, like you did know them intimately. And I
Hmm.
watched you do it. And it's a skill that I have not yet acquired. I think I'm better at it than I used to be. I think for me, perception is people, perceive me to be unapproachable sometimes or direct. I think the direct is accurate. I am.
I was gonna say,
However, I don't think I'm unapproachable. I'm pretty direct. Coughing the mic. Yeah, I'm pretty direct. I'm me, and so I've
which I
tried to like.
love about you, which again, and I've told you that, which I
Mm,
love about you,
yeah,
that you are direct in the moment. People will not walk away not sure about what you think or want to express. Not as if you're not, like this direct, but just you're gonna hear me out.
yeah. I just want to be clear.
Clear.
I want there to be no qualms about what
Right,
my intentions are
right,
here.
right.
And so, but what's happened, back to a partnership is that I learned some of the techniques that Dana used in
Mhm.
networking and being gentle and approaching things with grace. Um, I really like I'm channeling my Dana. I literally would tell her, "Listen, I need to channel my Dana when I'm going into this particular meeting. So I'd get to channel my grace because these people are a little more sensitive, and I know that. So I need to be more choose my words nicely and start with greeting. Hello, how's everyone doing? How's the kids? And da, 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 da. Now we spend 10 minutes on that. And then and so it's difficult for me. I do okay. But like, and the same thing, like you would
Yes.
call me about channeling some things
Exactly. I sure would.
and being more direct. And so like the perception is always interesting how people
Mhm.
perceive you,
Yes.
regardless of whether or not I think it's important to kind of know some of that and whether or not you choose to, make changes or not make changes is totally up to you. But
That's
I
right.
think understanding perception is good to know and you can decide then,
Yeah.
what you're gonna do or
Yeah.
not do.
And if you're about your business, there might be times where you can seek out, counsel on this. You
Yeah,
can talk to a couple people that or just met and ask them, because it can't do anything other than help you,
exactly. Yep. I
especially if you
agree.
don't know.
Yeah. And some people don't like that. They don't want to
I
know.
know. I know.
They definitely not trying to change or any of that. But I think part of this is just sharing with you guys about growth. And you always have to be self reflective. I think you
Mhm.
always have to be looking to do things differently, better, be open to trying new things in order to grow. The earth is ever evolving and moving and changing. And we're not changing that something's wrong with us. We're not a stagnant object. We're a living, breathing entity that has to change. Your body is constantly changing. And so your mind needs to change, and so your mouth can change, and then you can grow. And so that's part of why we talk about perception in that way. Not in the social media way. It's a whole
No,
nother conversation. Whole
no,
nother conversation. Okay. So
no, no.
let's get into some event talk, bit talk.
Okay.
Um, and so I know we've done a lot of events together. Let's talk about your journey from your move that you
Yes.
made.
Yes.
Um, and so I know I've had this conversation with several young ladies about I could never do that. I can uproot myself and move across the country. So talk about kind of that process and what you went through in order to pick up from Detroit, Michigan and move all the way to Los Angeles for this opportunity.
Yes. I had been looking to move for a while. And I think I wanted growth. I wanted personal growth.
Hmm.
There's a balance between you take you wherever you go, and the evolution of you can occur when you find a new environment. I was
Hmm.
shooting for the evolution in a new environment, but I had to wait for the opportunity. And as I thought back on it, looking for jobs around the country never
Hmm.
materialized. Opportunities to move to different places for other reasons than the job never materialized. Then the opportunity to be able to interview for the Walt Disney Company
Hmm.
after I had just started a full-time job
Hmm.
was just amazing. But it was when it was supposed to happen. We
Yeah.
were a year out of the pandemic, and the environment was changing. And it was just something in me that felt, if they ask me if I want to move to Los Angeles for this job, the answer is yes.
You had
Because
already prepared for the
I had
yes.
already prepared for it. And I
Hmm.
think even there was a little bit of manifestation in that.
Hmm.
I had been throwing things away. I had been
Mm.
rid of things, moved out of my condo, things in storage. I mean, I was. I was paring down for something. The kids were in college.
Yeah.
It was time. It was
Mm,
time. And I didn't want to be afraid. I wanted to embrace it. I wanted to move in peace in this opportunity. So
mm.
to get the job, and then 6 months later, packing up, what I had, shipping my car across the country, flying with my dog, from Detroit to Los Angeles, and settling into this new environment where I can see mountains. I can see mountains
Mm.
from my bedroom, right?
Mm.
No, no, it's not scary. No, it is the uncertainty is what is driving me to be open to meeting new people, creating a new network, leaning into a new way of doing things, a new way of living, um, you know, being around industry, right?
Mhm.
um, and learning more about what I have done is just translating into what I'm doing here. This is what I've always done,
Yeah.
but I was
Yeah.
in Detroit,
Mhm.
and I'm still
Mhm.
doing what I've always done. I'm still me,
Mm.
but the opportunities where I am are so much greater, and I could not have gained that staying where I was.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Well, it sounds like too, because we hear about, or I know friends who have just picked up and moved without a real plan, right? I know several people who have tried to come to Los Angeles and could not figure it out, right? They didn't have that same zeal that you had. They weren't thinking about paring down. They weren't manifesting. They were just like dreaming. And I think there's a difference between dreaming and actually figuring out what the plan is. Even if you don't have all the pieces to a plan, you have an understanding of this is. I have to do this for these reasons. Like this has to go. In order for me to do that, I need to be able to have sustainable income, or I need to, like, all those things were already kind of in your purview. You were figuring that out before the opportunity came along. And then when the opportunity came along, there was still a lot to figure out. I don't think people I don't want to get don't get it twisted. Like the move is not, easy.
It's not easy.
But you had some things in your favor when it comes to an opportunity that could help you, pay your bills.
Yeah, and I think that probably is a large part of what made it work. There are some stories that say I moved to Los Angeles and I was living in my car, and for 5 years before, that
Mhm.
could be. But there are a lot of people who do that, and they never find that foundational or that breakthrough.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
I needed the stability to grow.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the difference, right? You could do that. You could jump up and move and rough it, and all of that sort of stuff and, try to figure it out. But I think there comes a time too where, as you get older, wisdom
Mm.
is important, and stability and security is important. And so, like, I'm thinking of names popping in my head of people who tried that, ended up in their car. At me, at my age, trying to move to Los Angeles, living in the car is not an option. You know
Not
what
a
I mean? Like, it's not an
not
option. So if I can't figure it out outside of living in the car, then I don't need to move to LA.
That's right.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
Some of the things. So, plan it out, be prepared. Let's talk about real quick some of the major events that you are involved in at Disney, and like your best, most shiny favorite event so far, and why.
So my role is event producer for diversity, equity, inclusion communications, and I was brought on to manage our Reimagine Tomorrow Conversation Series events, which are employee focused events that share and tell stories of all of the dimensions that create an inclusive world within Walt Disney Company. Outside of that, I do external market activations, and I have programmed and produced events at Essence Festival and Out and Equal and Afrotech and Congressional Black Caucus, all around sharing the storytelling for inclusive voices mission.
Hmm.
I think the most exciting one was last year. When you think about you're working for the Walt Disney Company, and it was, it's like the house of the mouse, right?
House of the Mouse.
The
Hmm.
house of mouse. And He is the big guy. He is the big
Mhm.
guy, and there's
He's the
something.
VIP.
He is. He is the VIP. He is the VIP, and it is something magical about him and the stories that created him, and the stories that have been created around him. You see it in kids and you see it in adults, and so I was able to produce an onstage moment that included Mickey. And you say it as if it's, oh, you just pull him by the arm and walk him on stage.
Mhm.
No, 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 no,
Mm-mm.
no, no. The magic around Mickey is very magical, and he is to be you know honored and treated very presidential. And so there's a lot that goes into ensuring that um, that magic remains, and that people of all ages and colors and ethnicities feel it. And I'm telling you, it was a room of 2,000 grown people, and you would have thought that we were all at Disney World.
I love it. I love it. I was gonna ask you about VIP management when it comes to event management, but I would imagine that he is the ultimate VIP.
He is the ultimate VIP. He is the
So, I
ultimate.
mean, what kind of things do you need to do to make sure Mickey shows up on stage?
Everything is discretion. So I can't tell you. No, I'm just
To kill you.
it's all discretion.
So he has handlers, I would imagine,
He has him.
and a schedule.
He's very scheduled. I mean, just think about it. He could be anywhere at any time. He can be in Florida, and then next thing you know, he's in Orlando. So
He has
yes, he
an
has a schedule.
itinerary.
He has an
Does
IT.
does does Mickey have an assistant?
Yeah, yeah,
Probably several.
probably several. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. All right. And does Mickey have a special microphone for Mickey?
Um. Well, well, in order to, and yeah, well, if he's on stage, yeah, he does.
He has his
Yes.
own thing.
Yeah.
It's probably labeled Mickey. Do they
Label.
call him by his first name or is always Mr. Mouse? I mean, what's happening?
It's Mickey, and he is consistently his jovial, magical self.
Sounds like you bought into the magic of the Magic Kingdom of Disney. You are a company girl.
I am. I am. I am.
So, how do you mix like having your own company and still doing projects and working full time? Like, how does that all work together for you?
Well, right now, full time is full time,
Mm,
right? It's full time. And most of the people that seek me out, it's counsel at this point.
mm.
But I just have a soft spot in my heart for women in business. And so whenever there is one who is starting a company, whether it's in my industry, events or marketing, I want to be there for them. And I'm trying to figure out how to do that on a more intentional and consistent basis.
Mm.
Because I know that, I have some things to share, and I would love to be able to help, someone more quickly pass over the hurdles that I went through.
Well, I think that leads into like if someone is trying to walk in your footsteps, right? Have a business and work full time, what advice do you have for them in that lane?
Balance,
Mm.
balance,
Balance is a thing.
balance is the thing. What are you physically capable of doing, so that you are giving of yourself, but not giving up on yourself. And that means you physically can't be in two places at one time.
Mm.
Putting your systems in place so that you can leverage your capabilities and your time. I know you have been working on that, right, Nina?
Yes.
Um, so the balance, and I've said this before, believing in yourself. I have my
Mm.
B's, okay? So it's balance, believing in yourself, building your brand so that your efforts and your executions can speak while you sleep.
Mm.
Be about your business so
Be
you can
about
get
your
your bag.
business.
Be about your business so you can get your bag.
Okay.
That's
All
what I
right.
would say. But
Is
I
that
would
gonna be your next workshop? That's the bees.
the
Be about
bees.
the bees.
Be about the bees. Absolutely. Be about the bees.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So let's start. Let me ask you about legacy. So no man knows the day or the hour
Mm, mm,
that we breathe our last breath. So, um, what do you want people to say about you when you're gone?
Um, I would like them to say that I cared about the people that I impacted.
Mm,
Um, that I that it was important for me to create community and a tribe supporting other women.
mm,
That I lived my life in a way that was expansive and creative, um, and focused on what's important. You know, those things are growing more fully within me, and
mm,
so they have become the core of what it is that I like to achieve, whether it's in business and or professional.
mm.
Um, yeah, those are the
Yeah.
things.
I
Those,
know I threw a sideball at you because I didn't prepare you for that
yes,
question, but I think that was an amazing answer.
yeah, those
And
are the,
I know this is one of those things like who wants to talk about what happens when they're gone? But I think what happens is once we start to talk about it, we're manifesting, right?
yes,
What it is that we want to leave behind. Like, so in order to leave it behind, you got to do it while you're here. So,
yeah,
like manifesting those things that we want people to know about us and, how we move, how we operate, who we are as people at the end of the day.
yeah.
Okay. So, yeah. So, thank you. Thank you,
Hmm.
Ms. Dana, for sharing that. And so, tell us about what you're doing now and how people can find you.
Sure. I am, working and lifting um, stories of underrepresented voices and people, talent, cast members, employees. I love it because it captures my skill set, but also my passion.
Mm.
So full time, full time.
So, if they wanted to get consulting from you as from a marketing professional,
Sure,
can they
sure.
reach out to you?
My website will be danaharvey.com. So very shortly that will be up and running and people can contact me there. Otherwise, they can find me on Instagram at Dana_Harvey and on Twitter at at Dana Harv.
Dana
H
Harv.
H-A-R.
Okay, all right. DanaHarvey.com. You heard it here first. That she is going to be doing some marketing consulting and some workshops and some seminars and sharing a wealth of information about being a marketing consultant, about being digital marketing, traditional marketing, and event production as well. Event
Yes,
producing,
absolutely.
all the things. And guess who's
All
going to be a part of the workshop?
yes, yes, yes.
Just slid that on in there just in case you were thinking you needed someone to talk. Uh, Thank you, Dana. Thank you for being here. We are out of time. I'm looking at the people in the background. She said, cut. Um, we try to be respectful of time, those who are listening, and to our guests. And so, thank you a million thanks for taking time out to be a part of all things behind the scenes.
Thank you, Nina. Thank you. I'm so happy and honored to be a part of your journey. And it has never been the end, right? It has never
Never,
been the end.
never. And
So
until next time,
until
right?
next time, right?
The next thing I'll be
Until
calling
the
you.
next day,
All
exactly.
right, bye. See you later.
Bye.
Thank you again for joining us for another episode of All Things Behind the Scenes podcast, where we discuss all things events and entrepreneurship. If you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to follow, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to be notified of each new episode. You can also follow us on All Things BTS Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. We welcome all comments and suggestions. So let us know what you think. We love hearing from you. So until next time, remember that the only thing that you can guarantee about an event and life is that it will change. Be blessed.